Oops. Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday morning. Time for some positive conservation coffee. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, good morning. How's everybody? Okay, let's switch this on and get our day started, eh? Happy Wednesday, everybody. It is conservation coffee time. Good morning. Here we are enjoying our cup of joe or tea or matcha. Or if you're in another part of the world, probably a wine or a beer. I love wines, although it's harder to find vegan type wines. So today what we're going to do is talk about positive stories in the eco world, because we have so few victories when we're always fighting for change that we need to celebrate those. So I wore my celebration shirt and I hope everybody is able to put on the Hawaiian shirt of their thoughts and take a little time to be calm and remember to keep the earth and the ocean centered in your perspective at all times. So today, the first thing I want to talk about, actually a lot of people ask me about CBD. And before we start today, I figured I would share with everybody my personal CBD pattern in the morning, my habit. So this is CBD. This is 500 milligram strength. It goes 250, 500, and 1,000. So I take the 500. So what I find is when I'm using the liquid, this is good for like your full body, but it needs some kind of like a milky substance to hold on to, like a milk fat or a milk solid. So what I do is I take about a dropper full. Okay, I'm lying. I take a few dropperfuls. This is my oat milk. I don't drink regular milk, so you can use anything: soy milk, almond milk, oat milk, and then I'm going to drop it in. And because I'm having excess, I don't recommend a dose like this to begin with, but I'm having a lot of muscle spasms due to my cancer meds. So then you just pop it in right there, and then salud. And then we're CBD'd up, and that will help all the muscles start to relax. It'll help me personally. It'll calm down my spasms and allow me to go through my day. Who do we have up here today? Let's see. Good morning. Hey, Bruce. Good morning. Nice to see you. Well, I'm not quite sure what time it is for you. It's probably midday, but salud. Really good to see you on here. And hey, Ines, nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in from overseas. It's great to have everybody here, because it's part of having a positive community. And it's really difficult. And sometimes we don't have positive communities where we are, and the people around us don't always understand us. So it's good that we have an online community. We can talk about the wins that we have in the eco world, and we can talk about other positive things moving forward. So, but first, I just wanted to share with you guys my personal CBD ritual in the morning. I don't use any creamer or vegan milk or anything in my coffee. I like my coffee just straight up black, nice, tasty, taste the bean, taste the roast. And so that's why I use my CBD in oat milk. Anyway, so I wanted to talk today about some really positive eco stories. And one of them is, we always talk about community building. And hey, Elena, bună ziua. Thank you for being on today from Romania. It's nice, always nice to see you on the shows. One of the ideas that's always been popular in conservation and the eco world is community building, but leave it to the people in Canada to take that a notch up when it comes to community. Hey, Camilla, good morning. Salute to you. So this is a great story. This was sent in by one of our conversationalists. I think we're going to call ourselves here conversationalists. And this was sent in by somebody that pays attention to a lot of the podcast. And this is Laura Barkin. And Laura sent this story in. And I think this story is outstanding. This story shows there's a tool library in Toronto. And it's true. It's a tool library. You can actually go and you can rent whatever you need for your project at the time. And this way, everybody There we go. Maybe the voice is a little better now. So everybody has an opportunity to build whatever they need. So thanks, Laura, for sending that in. That is a Toronto innovation. We've always known that Canadians are some of the nicest people in the world. And we now see that with this new concept of community building. So I think that's a beautiful thing, and that's what I mean. We have to bring our communities together to make things happen. So the next piece of news that I wanted to share, which is great news, and this is that, we've been talking about how ExxonMobil left the Dow Jones, how a lot of investment companies are walking away from fossil fuel and oil investments. And the good news is, this year alone, around 10% of the whole world's electricity was provided by wind turbines. Don't worry, the wind turbines don't cause cancer. They're totally safe, but they do provide electricity. And right now they're providing 10% of the electricity worldwide. That is a huge step forward, because even though we all want to get rid of fossil fuel and coal, we need a solution to pop back in it. Another piece of great news. Recently, they signed an action here in the US that will stop coal drilling in the eastern section of the Gulf, as well as the eastern seaboard of Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia. No, South Carolina and Georgia. Good move. It doesn't help all the other waters that have been opened up for drilling, like Alaska, California, and some other areas. But it is a great move on the U.S. government's part to try to preserve a little bit there. Although I will say that the Gulf has a lot more problems, and it already has so much drilling that it is the largest dead zone in the world. And unfortunately, that comes from not only the overfishing, but the amount of oil and the amount of runoff from those industries. And then you have all of the other industries like animal agriculture that uses lots of fertilizer. You've got extraction industry, you have production industry, chemical industry, and all of them are allowed by law to dump their stuff into the waters, and all those waters go down and create what's called hypoxia, which is a lack of oxygen in the water, and the fish die. So that's how you get dead zones, by squeezing out all of the possible oxygen, total dissolved oxygen that the fish can breathe in. And unfortunately, it's happening right now in the Gulf. And the Gulf, unfortunately, is, not our perception of this beautiful, warm waters. That actually has a lot of issues, including being named one of the largest dead zones in the world. That is a big problem, because a lot of people make their living from that area, but they've been making their living from the area in the wrong way, and that's why we are where we are. So we rethink our world and we move forward, and we bask in the positive and know that positive change is always possible. Hey, Coralie, good morning. So nice to see you. And I hope you're having a wonderful coffee right now, and you're having a nice, calm morning, a break. I know, Coralie, you're out in a beautiful section of the U.S. and just have some of the most stunning sunrises and sunsets out there. Big open sky. Gotta love open sky. So the next part that I wanted to talk about, now this is really, really a very positive story, and because it deals with a negative problem. So the problem is extinction, but the positive story is, look how cute that little guy is, right? So this is a little baby panther. I've never seen a baby panther before. And I was just, oh, it's so cute. So the baby panther, this is from Florida. Now, Florida has an issue where they have a lot of panthers down there. Well, not actually anymore. I should say now the Florida panther is almost extinct. So what happened was they caught some of these baby panthers and they collared some of them so that they could follow them and make sure that they would be safe in their journeys. And what we're finding right now is that although they still have a long way to go, Earth Justice just filed a lawsuit, which is great, against the biggest cause of death, which these panthers know about, which is they actually get hit by vehicles. It's really, really sad. The biggest danger they face is car traffic, and it's usually crossing the road. So In 1995, only about 30 of the Florida Panthers existed. After a concerted effort to bolster the breeding population, and there was a little bit more conservation thrown in there too, they're now up to 120 to 230 cats. And we see a lot of these stories all the time in Florida where, they'll find a panther on top of a telephone pole. Now, this is just really weird because Florida has some of the most beautiful nature, but it also is an extremely overdeveloped area almost everywhere that you go. So the panthers have been sent across, and I don't know if you guys, to make sure you guys saw that. That's the little baby there. See the little teeny baby? Anyway, these are what are in danger. And what they've done is they have collared some of these panthers so they can watch where they go and learn what's happening. So this is the collared panther. It's FP for Florida Panther 110 and the kitten. Now, they've been following them. So Earth Justice is they're representing the Sierra Club, the Environmental Confederation of Southwest Florida, and this is a lawsuit against the Florida Department of Transportation, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And the problem is that if they hit and kill these big cats, they're considered incidental take, which means that there's no protection. So I wanted to find out. I believe they were saying approximately 5 panthers have already been killed by vehicles this year, actually. And this article was written in September. So as we can see, when you've got possibly 100 animals and you kill 2, that's almost 20% of the population. So every single panther that gets killed is a massive problem. So good news, in the face of extinction, people are fighting to keep these panthers alive and healthy and to keep them, allowing them to have part of what was theirs to begin with, the origin, which is their land. It's not our land. It is the Panthers' land, and we've almost destroyed them, and luckily people are out there fighting to save them. Earth Justice is a great group, by the way, I think. Corley says, got a big rally coming up Saturday. So excited. Fantastic, Corley. Thank you for being out there, always fighting for the environment, always making sure that people keep that in mind. And, you come from a beautiful area where nature is generally allowed to be free. And so thank you for fighting over here in the States and trying to keep our access to nature free and available. We're losing it little by little. Camilla says, animal agriculture. Yes, we can reduce the dead zones by ceasing meat consumption. Very true. Camilla, you bring up a great point. And, this is why a lot of companies promote Meatless Mondays. And, for my friends that still eat meat, if you haven't tried Meatless Mondays, we would appreciate it. We're not begging or asking, but it would actually be a wonderful thing because in animal agriculture, just taking one day of production out removes so much pesticide runoff. And the problem with animal agriculture is that, one, they're kept in extremely unsanitary conditions. With COVID, we talked a little bit about the idea that, if humans are crammed together and jammed together and living in unsanitary conditions, yeah, things are going to happen. Wet markets. The birth of COVID was from unsanitary conditions for these animals, which the wet markets are. And so what you have is a situation where these animal agricultural industries have gone so on their own, they regulate themselves, that they are doing horrendous things for profit. And one of the side effects is E. coli breakouts continuously. There's always an E. coli breakout because the chicken ranch and all their chicken poop goes into the water and then destroys everything. Now, all these animals, basically from animal agriculture, are fed incorrectly. They're fed things that are not natural to them. And then they are given, then creates a lot of pus and problems inside of when they harvest them. So what they find is that they give tons of chemicals. I don't know how to call them that. Hormones, injections, and all these other horrible things in order to fight the fact that their bodies are consuming non-natural diets and they're living in squalor and horrible conditions. And then what you have is, so the animal ag then has its own pesticide slash hormone runoff that is extremely toxic. Plus, they have all of the fertilizer they use for their other stuff, which is extremely toxic. And all of that comes in. And the problem is, to my friends that eat meat, is that if you're buying meat that's super affordable, there's a possible, unless you're buying from like a local farmer, there's a very good chance that not only is your meat consumption dangerous to yourself, but it is causing deforestation around the world. And there are a lot of issues in general with trying to maintain a lifestyle that this particular population is unable to sustain. And trying to pretend like we can sustain it will continue to lead to our extinction of resources. You know, we had this mythology that the world was this bountiful, endless resource for humans, and it's not. And that's so wrong. And that's a way of thinking. You know, people thought that before they had electricity. So maybe we should rethink the earth now that we have electricity and try to think forward instead of basing our assumptions about animals and the environment on knowledge that is 200 years old, and most knowledge that's 200 years old has been disproved. So, you know, we certainly do not have the medical knowledge of 200 years ago. And the reason I bring that up is, and I'm sure, you know, people know, but in the 1770s, there was a game changer where they decided that they understood that blood was pumped through the heart. Now, the reason I bring this up is that until the late 1700s, the belief was that your liver produced all of your blood, and then your blood sloshed around your body. And it was created by a man named Galen, G-A-L-E-N. This was his philosophy. So that's why you had bloodletting, and it's why you had leeches as medicine for a long time. This was considered top technology and top understanding of the world back in the 1500s. The same time that we decided the world was plentiful, boundless, right? And ours. 3 incorrect assumptions that have led to where we are today that need to be rethought in the same way that we no longer believe in Galen's perspective of how the body works. And because we now know that blood is pumped, we now no longer do bloodletting. So it's good that we learn things over time, but we have to adapt ourselves culturally to think forward and find ways to think forward. So that's going to be our big trick next. And so anyway, today I just wanted to show that years and years of us trying to be positive have created amazing results. The fossil fuel industry is disappearing little by little. Investors are walking away from it. It's too destructive, and they're lobbying to destroy the world. And companies have said no. And I'm not the one saying this. These are investment firms that have said companies that are out there lobbying to destroy the climate, that is not a healthy perspective for the future. And it's very true. It's hard to imagine anybody would actually support that belief unless they were part of the company profiting or brainwashed by the company that's profiting. Corley says, turkey chicken farms here calling the non-thriving feeding toxic chemical, then using the composted coal and dead toxic animals as fertilizer on cornfields. Oh, gosh. That is disgusting. Oh, Corley, thank you for letting us know that. So what, they're taking, wow. That's really bad. I mean, not only is that an complete abuse of the cycle of life and a complete shortcut, but can you imagine all of those toxins that are going into corn? And somebody like me that doesn't eat animals could still be ingesting the same hormones, toxins, pesticides, and just the death of the animal that I personally I try to avoid. And to know that it could be in the corn, it's very difficult. It's hard to know our food these days. And, with everything getting so much bigger and everything becoming worldwide, this is becoming a problem that I think people are starting to recognize. I mean, if anything, these lockdowns have proven it to us. The chain of supply is broken, and it's been broken for a long time due to profiteering for a few individuals. But what if we went back to local farms? What if people were held accountable for the way that they treated animals? What if people were held accountable for the quality of the food they sell you. Does it sound like a crazy dream? It shouldn't, it should just be what we do, but it's not where we are. And so there we find our problems. I mean, people start talking about Smithfield, and then people start talking about wet markets, and then then everybody stopped talking about them. Smithfield is owned by a Chinese company, and they're one of the first corporations that was sent back to work, quote unquote, essential workers. And I don't know why meat makers are considered essential workers, but the meat is generally made and then frozen, actually, and then processed overseas and then returned to the U.S. And due to the removal of country of origin labeling laws, no one knows where their meat comes from unless they go directly to the farmer. So, the stuff that's like $1 a pound in the grocery store, it's being processed overseas, generally through Chinese companies and other companies. And it's something that's really dangerous to everyone's health. Not to mention terrible for the animals, but dangerous to everyone's health. Currently, exactly, Purdue and Tyson. Yeah, you definitely want to stay away from those two. Those two have been known to have lots of excessive hormones and lots of toxins in the bird food, in all that. And it's absolutely, it's nasty. So, people need to be more conscious about what we put in our bodies these days. It's interesting because in the 40s and 50s, everything went to this nationalized food chain, and people jumped in full of trust. But after so many cancer stories, and people not knowing how they're getting sick or why they're getting sick, we have to know that there's something wrong in the national food supply chain like that. And we have to now become more conscious. And it's on us because due to the laws, companies do not have to be honest about what their products contain or do to us. And if you lived in the US and you thought somebody's taking care of that, there's an adult in charge, I'm sorry to inform you that there is no one in charge of that, and they do not do that anymore. And that has put the health of every American at danger. And it just seems to me extremely irresponsible. But that's just me. What do I know? I'm the guy with cancer. It's a conservationist. Evidently, the people that run corporations and poison us are the ones we're supposed to listen to and respect. That is another way of thinking that, again, goes back to the 1500s, that perhaps just like our rethinking of Galen's philosophy of the liver producing blood that splashes around our body, perhaps we need to rethink our relationship to the earth and our relationship to each other and how we treat each other chemical-wise and everything else. Hey, Colleen, thank you. Good morning, and good to know you got some caffeine soup rolling. And Camilla, eat what is grown, not what is born. Oh, I like that saying a lot, Camilla. That is fantastic. That brings me to another really positive story. Is during lockdown, people have been transforming their yards to food-producing farms. It's pretty cool. I personally, in Hollywood, I grew cherry tomatoes. I lived in this small house in Hollywood with a couple roommates, and it was kind of a party house, but in the back we had a little yard. So I remember we worked it, we got rid of all the old soil. We created new fertile soil on top and aerated it and everything. And then we grew corn, and we grew small cherry tomatoes. And I grew a bunch of herbs so that I could enjoy them when I was cooking, like oregano, rosemary. Rosemary is incredible. It grows in these giant bushes. And it was so cool, to have something that comes from your own yard. It even makes cooking more exciting. Personally, now I'm mostly raw. So, I would love to grow like some lettuce and pumpkin. Oh, I also grew little baby pumpkins. They were fun. Big pumpkins did not succeed. Anyway, you can grow anywhere, and it's really cool because people are seizing back that power. And, I think I have a lot of friends that are that are omnivores, that'll do anything. But I think no matter what your philosophy is, you need to be really cautious about the water that you take in and the food that you eat, and just make sure that you're not poisoning yourself. Because in our system right now, we are allowed to be poisoned by the companies around us, as all my friends in Florida know from the waters. And we're also allowed to they're allowed to take advantage of that. So we have to fight back. And this is what's great is we have a new way to do it. And we need to connect. We need to stay kind. We need to offer solutions, and we need to step forward. So remember, positive eco news. Every day there are things to celebrate. We might not get our victories right away, but they're always around the corner. Just like over 10% of all electricity in the earth being created by windmills right now. Fantastic move towards natural resources. The lack of investment in fossil fuel, the removal of Exxon from Dow Industry, one of the oldest companies on the Dow. Incredible sign of the times, changing times, out of the dark ages, we can do this. Colleen says, I do believe in the silver lining to the lockdown as so many people are embracing native and vegetable gardening. Yes. Composting. Yes. And getting out into nature to explore and appreciating nature again. I love that. And that's great to hear. And Colleen, I know you spend a lot of time out in nature with people. So I'm glad to know that people are returning to nature. It's great. Think about it. Even with the idea of COVID, is going to a mall as appealing as going to, kayak through the Everglades? Nature has the most amazing things in the world. I've seen sunsets that can rival any human-made experience I've ever had. So the world is amazing, and we've all had to step back a bit. And now we want to go enjoy the world, but we want our personal space. And we should have been crying out for personal space over the last hundreds of years. But the people in charge that make money on jamming us into personal spaces don't want to hear that. Really, when you look at a city and you look at a building like in Manila where there's 100, floors and everyone's jammed in, it's not how we were intended to be. And we even understand that with the animals, and even chickens aren't allowed to be held like that any longer. And yet humans still are, because we still accept the negativity and the brutality of the previous way of thinking. So I'm really glad to hear, Colleen, that more people are out in nature now, enjoying it. People are leaving the cities in droves. They're getting back out into nature, and people are going to demand more. And you know what? We can have it, and we can make the changes. Great news. And great news on the Florida Panthers. They are a barometer of our abilities to preserve animals. People talk about in the Sea of Cortez and the small vaquita dolphin that's almost extinct. Why did everybody start talking about that when there was 5 of them left? What is the point of that? We can stop extinction, and Florida is working on that right now. To go from 12 to at least 120, maybe over 200, is an amazing first step. And it's a beautiful thing, and it is a silver lining. We can, if we now have the ability to understand what's going extinct and why. And again, we didn't know that 50, 60 years ago. We just destroyed. But we can't just keep destroying, or there's going to be nothing left to destroy. And everyone is starting to realize that. So we have these wonderful victories in conservation. Savor them. The Florida Panther is making a comeback. Earth Justice is suing the state to ensure that they have a better chance of making it back. So people are stepping up and fighting for the animals, fighting for the water, fighting for the future. That's everybody that I see on this conversation right now, and I know all of our listeners have the same way of thinking. So it's good to know. Remember, we're all part of a giant community. We all do exist. Your friend that you have coffee with in the morning might not want to talk about conservation, but the rest of us do. And in case you're wondering, I love coffee so much that I drink my first cup, and then when that one ends, I have a second one sitting anyway, it keeps the heat in, and it prolongs it, because I make my coffee in a pot. I don't have a coffee pot. Anyway, interesting. Make it in a pot, don't have a pot. Colleen says, yes, however, it's a true battle here, as the state of Florida is wanting to build a massive toll road and developments right in through their habitat. Yes. But Earth Justice and local conservationists are not giving up the fight. Exactly. That's the beautiful part. Sad thing is those in charge generally, and we see this a lot in every state, Florida's very visible about it, but they generally will wipe off environmental concerns for whatever the concerns of those in charge that own businesses are. The toll roads are an absolute disaster on every way that you can imagine it, and it's crazy to think that that the state would approve that. But the good thing is that at least people are fighting back, and we have a good chance of stopping that. If they put those toll roads up, I imagine that with the panthers mostly being killed by being hit by cars, trying to go from resource to resource because we have built up and pushed them out of their natural resource. They're going to have to find a way. So hopefully Earth Justice can stop this and prevent another extinction. Because at this point in our history as humans, we should be able to eliminate extinctions. We should be able to make extinction extinct. We have the ability, we have the knowledge, and we have the connection. Coralie says, same here. Colleen, that's my battle right now. Yeah, now a tri-state corridor. Colleen says, I'll chain myself to the path of that project if they continue. Colleen, you said LOL, but I know you. You probably will. And you know what? I'm sure as long as people can bring you coffee, you will stay there. And that's the thing is we have devoted conservationists. The reason the Florida Panthers got down to 20 is that nobody cared, nobody paid attention. Now they're back in the news, and Florida is ever the battle. Florida is always the battle for clean water, for animal habitat, for preservation of land. They have big agriculture like Big Sugar that is poisoning them. They have discharges from Lake O that is poisoning them. They have mosaic mining pollution runoff that is poisoning them. But they have the most spirit to fight back. And it's really amazing to see. Facts, please bring coffee. You know it. But yeah, that's the thing, So everybody's out there fighting. It's really important. We can do this. Like I say, it's great to be part of this community and to see everybody that has a forward way of thinking in solutions. Yes, humans are the problem, but we are also the only solution to our problem of us. We need the companies to listen to what we have to say, and they're starting to. We need the politicians to listen to what we have to say. That's debatable and difficult and a challenge unto its own. And big up to all the activists that do that every day. And we need the people to listen, because when people understand what's happening to the world around them, most would not be able to just sit back and allow the destruction and poisoning of the future generations. It just is unconscionable. And we have to stop putting our health to the side for company profit, because trickle down doesn't work. If a company does really well, like a Mosaic, I don't see how that has benefited any of the towns that they have mined out. Most of those towns' main streets were empty that I visited. So they really do just destroy businesses, health, environment, economy. And that's the thing about environmentalists, is that they're fighting for things past the environment. They're fighting for the health of their children, the health of their grandchildren. They're fighting for the ability for their property to have a value in 50 years. They're fighting for the peace of nature that made them move there. They're fighting for their families that have been there for generations. There is a lot that people fight for. And that is the beauty that we have to pay attention to. We could talk about problems all day, but solutions are where it's at. Colleen, No Roads to Ruin, and help stop the M-Course project. That's awesome. Everybody, make sure to go check that out at No Roads to Ruin. And you can help out save the panther. You can actively help save an animal from going extinct. Can you imagine wearing that on your karma resume or whatever? I don't know what to call it, but these are the things that we can do. We can all make a big difference. We have to remember, just like the Rasta elder told us, to listen to our hearts, because our hearts tell us, do good, do good, do good. We can all do that. We all become a motor that starts humming the same vibration of kindness and doing good. That eventually changes the entire vibration of the universe and raises the exhilaration content. And we can do that. We have that power. Everybody remember, thank you, Sierra, for putting up the Facebook group for No Roads to Ruin. Everybody go check it out, because even if you don't live right in Florida, you can help save an animal from going extinct, a panther. Not that there's that many out there. I don't even know anyone that's seen one in the wild. I saw a baby bobcat when I was in in Florida, but I did not see any panthers, but I did see a few bobcats, and they are also getting a rough end of the deal right now. But for now, please focus on those panthers. They went from double digits to triple digits. They can get to quadruple digits in no time if people keep stepping up. So thank you everybody in Florida for fighting for the Panthers and fighting for the future. And thank you everybody out there actually for just being part of our Conservation Coffee, where we talk about positive solutions and great things happening all around the world, innovative changes, ways that we can change the world in a positive way just by being who we are. Stay positive. Remember, everybody, please, in this COVID time, take a little time for yourself. Take some time to center yourself. Remember that you're not alone, as alone as you might feel. Come join us for Conservation Coffees. Email me. You know, you can do it through the website. You can say hi to me on Facebook. You're not alone. There's a giant group of us out there, and we all love to talk about what we can do and things that we can change. Because remember, it is our world, and let's talk about it. Anyway, everybody, thanks for joining me today. Wonderful, wonderful to see everybody this morning. It just fills me with so much happiness, excitement, and hope about the future when I see everybody, on here. So many fighting for the future, so many fighting for the now, and it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Thank you, everybody, for all of your efforts out there. Thank you for making this conservation community a reality. This is it. Positivity is our only way forward, everybody. Kindness, positivity. Be the change you want to see, as they say. We can do it just by being the best we can be. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and that's nice to see you on here. Bruce, always great to have you on here, my friend. You're always looking for positivity, positive ways to face the day, and I love that. Your posts are always fantastic. Colleen, Nines, Camilla, everybody today, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your input. I love being able to talk to everybody. We will, next time I see you guys will be Saturday morning for a new Conservation Coffee. And remember, it's our world. Let's talk about it.